The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. I'm here to tell you about Boll & Branch sheets. In a recent customer survey, 96% replied that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. They're made from the rarest organic cotton and designed to get even softer over time. Try their sheets with a 30-night guarantee plus 15% off your first order with code Odyssey. So head to BOLLandbranch.com today. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Welcome to the PowerCat Podcast, GoPowerCat.com's Kansas State Athletics Show. Now, here's your host, GoPowerCat publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome in here to the Friday Shoot-Around. I am Ryan Gilbert. He is former Wildcat Clint Stewart. A lot to talk about here today on the show. A lot has gone on, both on and off the court for Kansas State. We're not going to get into the specifics with Naquan Tomlin's incident, but in terms of the X's and O's, losing a star player like that, Clint will definitely dive into what K-State can do to sort of navigate its roster without Naquan Tomlin on it. As always, we are sponsored by Booth Creek Wagyu. Remember to elevate your tailgate this season with our friends from Booth Creek Wagyu. Their ranch is located just north of Manhattan and proudly raises authentic Wagyu beef from farm to table. Visit their retail locations in Manhattan and Overland Park, or online at boothcreekwagyu.com. Clint, simple question for you, man. How does K-State win games now officially without Naquan Tomlin on the roster?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a big blow to the team, but, the good thing is have a chance to already been playing without him, obviously start this season. And I've played some really tough games already and won some close ones, obviously in overtime, the last 3 games. I think the experience that some of the younger guys have already gotten, obviously is going to hold even more valuable. And then hopefully they can step up and fill that void. And like I said, it just means next guy up, and that's the approach I'm sure Coach Tang is having with the team. And that's the approach the players have to have. It's an opportunity for the next guy to step up and, and fill the void that obviously losing a player of his caliber, brings to the team. So, it's tough. It's a tough blow. But, at the same time, the only thing we can do is look forward. And when you look forward to the future, you got to just prepare for it the best you can and go out and play the best you can.
3 straight overtime games for this team. That's the first time that's happened since 1964 for this program. We'll dive into those. But is there one certain player on this roster, Clint, that maybe needs to step up more than anybody else? And I think it's Arthur Kaluma, because he's got the ability to do a lot of the stuff that Naquan Tomlin did do, but also being a superstar, right? There's only a finite number of guys on the roster that really could, step into that role of being the guy that gives this team a timely bucket, be the go-to scorer when it's needed most. So is Arthur Kaluma, does he kind of have the most weight on his shoulders right now?
Well, I think it's going to be multiple guys. I think obviously Arthur, his ability to score the basketball, he's a physical guard forward. I think he'll definitely fill some of that void, especially from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, I think maybe David Nagesson can use his length, similar to how Naquan, uses his length. And so maybe it's, a season where he gets even more minutes than what was expected. But I think it's going to be, multiple guys are going to step up, and, some of the young freshmen, McCaleb might get a bigger opportunity now, and so he has to be ready to get in there and play well, when his number's called, and so multiple guys are going to have to step up. I don't want to put it all on Arthur, but obviously we know what Arthur can bring, and the way he scores the basketball, and physical and tough, and he's a hard guard, man. When you watch him play, I'm glad I don't have to guard him. So he's definitely going to be able to bring a lot of that energy that Naquan brought.
This doesn't really come as a surprise. Jerome Tang mentioned how he was treating this like a season-ending injury. And so surely this staff now has had, honestly, Clint, a few months to sort of put this plan in place. This does not come as a surprise, like I mentioned. And I think that they have already learned really how to play without Tomlin.
Yeah, and that's the good thing. Like I said, it'd be a little bit different if, let's say he was playing and then all of a sudden,
right,
we just found this news out and now we got to try to adjust, right? And so the players have already adjusted. I mean, they've been playing, without him through the first part of the season, and so they've already adjusted to it. Now obviously, when you think about it from a player standpoint, you're excited about, hey, we're going to get him back at some point in time. But now that's not going to happen. They've already adjusted, how they're playing to playing without him. So hopefully, like I said, he's got to keep moving forward, and got to put the guys out there that are on the team. They got to go perform, and so it just gives everyone else an opportunity to step up.
Hope you all can bear with us. Daphne or Dude, one of the two, is having a barking attack. I don't know if you can hear that, Clint, but we'll roll on. Per usual here in the Cats and Dogs studios. But Jerome Tang, this is where we find out here how good of a coach you can be to adjust. Because coming into the year, right, Tomlin was certainly poised to be a superstar in the Big 12. Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson were both gone, and he had the keys pretty much 15-20% of K-State's scoring, points, rebounds, all that stuff. Very little of it returned from last year. And now without Tomlin, it's on to these newcomers to step up and make plays. But Clint, I think we talked about this last week, how just it takes a team time to gel together and get better as it progresses through a season. 11 newcomers on last year's squad. And they go to the Elite Eight, right? Now, obviously, K-State returned pieces, but Colbert, Finister, and Manning, those three guys redshirted, right? So this team doesn't have much experience. Same thing goes with last year. So even without Tomlin, even with him, it doesn't matter. This team still has guys. Its goals set on reaching the Final Four. They've said that. They've been outspoken about that before the season, and I don't think that changes here, despite losing a superstar, despite a few losses early on in the year. Still should not be hitting the panic button.
Yeah, I think we saw it, last year. I think, you can't put limitations on this team, and so, obviously there's, areas that we have to continue to get better at and continue to improve as the season goes on, as we get into the Big 12, where it gets even more gritty and more tough, and where the scouting gets even greater, teams know exactly what you're going to do. But I don't think there's any limitations on this team. I think we have some really good pieces. And then, like I said, those guys are going to battle every single day. They're going to move forward every single day, and continue playing. And some of the guys, as you mentioned, that are back. Cam Carter has really stepped up this year. He's been big, and it keeps him in a role that he's obviously growing into and becoming more comfortable with, and so hopefully he can just continue to excel and get better throughout the year. I think Tyler Perry, as we've seen what he's been able to do as far as scoring and assisting, I think it kind of keeps him in a role that he's already starting to grow into and just get more confidence, playing in the role that he's in. So, obviously it's a blow without Tomlin, but I think with the guys we have and the pieces we have, there's still no limitations. And so it's, Coach Tang preaches, getting better every single day and that 1% better and continue to move on. And I'm sure that's what we're going to do.
All right, Clint, 3 straight overtime games. It's great to win those games, especially in overtime, but should we be, I don't know, not alarmed, but frustrated, concerned that some of these games, and not the Villanova game, right? That's a really good opponent, but North Alabama and Oral Roberts, right? Those games should not be going to overtime, should they?
Well, and when you think about playing at home, where we have obviously our home court advantage, and you'd like to see us win, at least by double digits, I think, but at the end of the day, if it's going to be an overtime game, it's going to be close, whether it's, Oral Roberts, whether it's my son's 5th grade team, or whether it's Villanova, you got to win, and so at the end of the day, we won, and you feel a lot better about winning, by 1 point, or 2 points, or winning in overtime than you do losing or losing in overtime. And so, definitely there's areas we have to improve. I think that the players know it, the coaches know it. We got to get better as we start to move into the Big 12 pretty soon. But you feel good about winning, and I think you never want to get lost in, maybe we didn't play our best, or maybe we don't look our best. But if you find a way to win, I think it's something that's hard to coach. It's hard for some guys to grasp, like this, when it gets down to gritty, how do you win? How are we going to win? And the players really have to dig deep and figure out, all right, are we all going to pull together and get that one stop? All right, do we remember back in the summer when we were, running up and down hills and on the field and pushing weights, on the football? Dude, like that was what this is for, and sometimes the players don't grasp that, and sometimes they do, and they say, all right, this is the moment that we have to step up. And so it's been good to see, that we've stepped up in the moment, when we needed to, and then hopefully we can get things clicking early so that we don't have to go into overtime in our next game.
I had asked Jerome Tang after the second overtime game earlier in the week, and of course there was one more against Villanova. But should anybody be frustrated with these games? And if somebody is frustrated, what would your message be to them? But Tang just said, like you mentioned, right? It's tough to win college basketball games. It doesn't matter how you win them, as long as you get wins. It's tough to win in college sports. And so, but he also went on to say how, again, like you touched on, this is going to give them a valuable experience moving forward. When you're going up against a team that hasn't played in any overtime games or any close games, K-State can say, yeah, been here, done that. And the other team's going to be panicking like, okay, what do we do here? We've never been here all season long.
That's it, and experience is the greatest teacher. And so once you get that experience and being in those close games, no matter who the opponent is, you find out, okay, we've been here, we know how to win. We know what it takes to win. We know how focused we have to be here in this this overtime period to go get the win. And so it's a moment where, I think as a player, you can kind of take a deep breath and relax and just go play, and not be so tensed up and tight of like, and so I think for our guys, it's good experience, early on, and hopefully it'll bode us well as we move into the Big 12 season.
Does much need to be said, or is it just understood? Or as a coach, are you going to be, hey, if your team is going to overtime at Bartlesville, are you saying, hey guys, we've been here before, we've done this? Or do you not even say anything because the guys just know?
Oh, you definitely still reiterate it for sure, okay. and just to breathe that confidence into them, hey, this is nothing new for us, and maybe if it's the other team's first overtime, you might even say that, like, they haven't been here, they haven't been where we're at, and so let's go show them what it's like, and so it's definitely good to reiterate it and breathe that confidence into the players and just remind them, because sometimes, in the mix of it all, they might have forgotten, like, oh yeah, okay, Villanova, yep, I remember, yep, North Alabama, yep, I remember, okay, or yep, I remember, let's go, and so it just gives the players confidence and stepping up and ready to play that overtime period.
I don't know if you're a sports bettor, man, but hammering K-State to play in an overtime game here on against LSU on Saturday. It's got to be free money, right? We'll touch on that game here later on, second half, but it's got to be free money, right?
I mean, if I was a betting guy, I might have to put it down.
The first half against Villanova was pretty good. Villanova hit 5 of its first 6 shots from beyond the arc, and I don't know about you, Clint, if you were watching it live or you watched the replay, whatever you were doing, but I was sitting there going, oh boy, here we go. This is just one of those nights where the opponent can't miss. And obviously K-State locked down on defense and forced Villanova into some pretty bad shots. So it seemed as if Villanova was living by the 3 and dying by the 3, but K-State controlled a lead for, I believe, 32 minutes of that game. And again, that's great, but that's also where maybe some of that frustration comes in with it going to overtime. When you had a double-digit lead in the second half, you let it slip away. So it's kind of a give and take there. Take the positives and learn from the negatives, so to speak.
Yeah. And, when you look at Villanova, they came out and shot it really well. And then even the second half, they came out the second half and made like 4 first 5 again, And so when you take that into account, I think they made 11 threes or so on the game. I mean, they hit all of them in the first, 5-6 minutes of each half. And so when they came out and did that, it was a moment like, maybe this might be their night. I mean, they might just, just make every shot they throw up. But luckily, our defense, I thought, logged down a little bit better. And we forced some turnovers, too, especially on the drive. We did a good job of getting to the ball and being active with our hands. And so that was really good. And then, I think this is a game where, obviously Arthur Kaluma had a fantastic game. I mean, he just played so hard, shot the ball really well. It was a bounce back game for him. When you look at how he shot it against Northern Alabama to how he shot it against Villanova. I think it was 1 for 10 against Alabama and 10 for 13 against Villanova and just 9 rebounds. I mean, just a gritty game for him. And then you look at, Tyler Perry didn't have his best game, and we still found a way to win. And so, I think there's definitely learnings from it. We have to clean up some of our own turnovers. I think, Tyler obviously had a really bad one at the end of regulation, kind of got pinned up on the sideline and didn't have anywhere to go. And they kind of took it out of his hands. We would like to have gotten a shot up, obviously. So he's got to learn from those mistakes, but it was nice to see that we were able to find a way to win, and when it mattered most, Tyler had an off shooting night, but when it mattered most, what did he do? He came through and made the bucket, just like he's always done in his career. So, it's nice having a senior in that position who's he's confident in himself. We know he's not always going to have off shooting nights, and we're hoping he can even bounce back and be better in the next one against LSU.
Clint, we'll keep talking about this game against Villanova, breaking it down, what went right for K-State down the stretch. But before we do, we'll take a quick break here on the Friday Shoot Around.
GoPowerCat.com's PowerCat podcast continues after this short break.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
Welcome back to the PowerCat podcast.
Welcome back in here to the Friday Shoot Around. I am Ryan Gilbert. He is Clint Stewart. As always, we're sponsored by Booth Creek Wagyu. Clint, let's pick up right where we left off. I got 2 analogies here. First of all, was what Tyler Perry's done, not only in the Villanova game, but a couple clutch shots this season. Is he the closest thing that we've seen to Marquise Noel in terms of his clutchness? So obviously he needs to find some consistency early on in games, but it seems like he's on the same trajectory that Noel was on early on in his K-State career under Jerome Tang.
Yeah, well, I think the best thing about Tyler, as we mentioned, I mean, he's been in these situations. Being a senior, and I think I mentioned last time, he played in a system where they were one of the lowest possession teams, in NCAA, and so he's used to shot clock running down and having to make a play, right? Or, end of a possession, end of a game and having to make a play. And so you can see that he's comfortable in those spots and he believes in himself, has a lot of confidence. And so his ability to step up, when the team is counting on him and the team is needing him, I'm sure for him, he's I want the ball in my hands. I'm Kobe in this moment, I'm MJ in this moment, and he stepped up and has made some shots. So it's nice to see that, and I think, definitely, as he just continues to get more confident and more comfortable, as we saw with Noel last year, as he got more comfortable. I mean, as the season kept going on, he kept getting better and kept getting better. And by the time you looked up at it, he's flexing on Kentucky, and then,
Right.
and then in the tournament. And so, I think the same thing's going to happen with Tyler. He's going to keep getting more comfortable and continue to get better throughout the year.
You look at his stat sheet in the first half against Villanova, 1 of 5 from deep, only 3 points. And so you think, okay, he struggled. But Jerome Tang was actually, I mentioned it in the postgame press conference, that he said he played incredible in the first half. And so just because a player isn't putting the ball through the net doesn't necessarily mean that they're having a bad game.
Yeah, well, and there's so many things you can do, especially as a point guard, and as a point guard, you got to lead a team. You got to get them into the sets, get them into the offense. You got to play with a lot of pace. You got to set the tone defensively. You got to make sure you're talking, communicating, and helping guys out and encouraging guys. And so there's so many other aspects of the game, that Tyler, especially as the point guard, can impact the game in so many different ways, and so even defensively, as a point guard, you're usually on the other point guard. And if we're going to be aggressive, you're the head of the snake. Like I can go start the aggressive possession on the defensive end, and so, just because the ball doesn't fall doesn't mean that you can't impact the game in other ways. And then obviously Tyler, his position as the point guard and as a leader, that's what you would expect, whether you're making or missing shots, you have to still step up and you have to perform to the best that you can in other areas of the game. And I think that's what Tang was alluding to.
As for Arthur Kaluma, is that the closest that we have seen in a single game performance to anything that Keontae Johnson did last year, just in, taking over a game?
I mean, it was, yes. And it was amazing. There was, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes. I can't remember how much time was left. And they mentioned he had 26 and maybe his career high was 27. And, I was like, he has 26. It feels like he has 40. Like, I mean, he was a man amongst boys, especially driving the basketball and being physical, getting to the rim. Obviously made some 3-point shots as well. He just put together an all around a great game, and we needed it, and so it's good to see him step up in that moment and play really well. And as I mentioned, for him, it's kind of a bounce back game from a shooting night, where he didn't shoot the ball very well against North Alabama, but he came back and was ready to play, and once again, he's a guy he's been around, and so he knows that he's a good player. He believes he is a good player. And I think, Tang's even said it before, he's a first rounder, and then draft pick. And that's what Tang believes. And so, he sees it every day. And so I think Kaluma brings a lot to the team, and he's going to continue to get more comfortable as well, under his first year under Coach Tang. And we're going to keep seeing some great games by him.
Day-Day Ames hovered around 20 minutes in this game, which is to be expected, as he's just, as a freshman, so mature on the court. But Michaela Bridge didn't play. RJ Jones only played 5-6 minutes in this game. This was, bluntly put, the most hostile, environment that they had ever been a part of. And so, in the back of his mind, maybe hindsight, I think Jerome Tang, reading between the lines with what he was saying, probably wishes he would have played them a little bit more. But going into the game, are you okay with not playing your true freshman in a situation like this where they've never, ever been in an atmosphere like that, if that makes sense?
Yeah. And I think it's all about game flow. And as the game kind of went on, and Villanova is a physical team. They have some strong guards. They have some big guys inside, and so you might think, well, Michaela, he's physical. He can get out there and play. But sometimes veteran physical is a little bit different than freshman physical, and so it can be a little bit just a different feeling when you get out there and you're going against maybe a senior who's, just as strong as you are and it just has a little bit more experience than you do. And so you just got to make sure that it's the right situation as well. And it's not that you can't throw them into the fire and let them learn early. I'm sure that's what Tang would like to do. But, there's going to be times where you can do that. And there's times you say, maybe not this game, and I think this was a game where Tang just felt more comfortable rolling out some of our veteran guys and giving them, most of the minutes with the experience that they had against an experienced, Villanova squad. And obviously it worked out. So it's good.
Is there one player, and this could be Perry or Kaluma, one of the stars, or it could be a guy like Finister, Manning, Colbert, guys that don't play as much. Is there one guy that you think this staff should really be challenging to play better, that there's a lot more to show than what he's played through the first 9 games of the season?
Yeah, well, Finister, which you would hope he would be able to bring and help us is be able to shoot the basketball, from the outside. I think we've had a few games where we haven't shot it well, and when we need, someone to just be able to extend the floor a little bit more, if Kim Carter's off or Tyler Perry's off or Kluma might be off, is there someone that can really step up and make some outside shots? So, maybe this is an opportunity that he gets in, a few more minutes here or there and can step in and make a shot from the outside. But it's really going to take, I think everyone kind of stepping up. Everyone's going to have to continue to elevate their game because it's going to get tough, and most of these guys haven't played in the Big 12 yet, right? I mean, I love Creighton. I love what their schedule is, but Big 12 is the best basketball. I love North Texas, and then with them, but Big 12 is the best basketball, and so. Everyone's going to have to try to elevate their game as we're heading into the Big 12 and heading into some true battles and some true on the court fights, where it's just physical every single night. And coaches, we have the greatest coaches in this conference. And so it's literally a chess match every single night. So everyone's got to step up.
Any concern with the game coming up on Saturday against LSU with everything that's happened off the court recently over the last couple of days with Naquan Tomlin? Any concern of this team not being locked in for this game?
Well, you would hope that that we can use it as fuel to the fire, right? And then kind of fuel us to play even better, right? And it becomes a play for Naquan type of moment. And then we don't use it as like a distraction to our focus, and how we are supposed to go out and prepare to go win and obviously go win the basketball game. So for the players, it can go one or two ways, and we really won't know until the game starts and we're halfway through the game, and then how do we respond, or the game's over, how do we respond, but it's definitely a moment that you can use it, and hopefully the players are using it and saying, hey, we got to go play for Naquan. He's one of our brothers. Obviously he's not going to get a chance to be out here with us, but so let's go leave it all on the floor for him.
K-State's been out to Vegas, been out to the Bahamas, but never a true road game yet this season. I don't know, LSU is not going to be anything crazy, but again, that's another opportunity for this team to grow and get better and learn how to play on the road, because in the Big 12, you've got 9 of those games.
Yeah, and you got to win on the road. You got to protect the home court, and you got to go what we call steal some on the road. And there's every place in the Big 12, no matter where you go on the road, it's hard. It's hard to win. Period. It's really hard to win on the road. And so this is just more experience. Hopefully, as we mentioned, maybe some of the younger guys get a few more minutes depending upon the game flow, just to try to prepare them for what's to come down the road as well. But we got to be locked in and got to be focused, and we got to go get it. And so it'll be a real good road win for us if we can, go to LSU and SEC team and beat them on the road. It'll be a good stepping stone, as we continue to move on.
Bob Marley's "Everything Will Be All Right, Every Little Thing Will Be All Right" was playing. I don't know if you saw that in K-State's locker room after the win over Villanova. Is that kind of and this was before Tomlin was officially dismissed from the team, but is that kind of where this team's at right now? Just after everything that's kind of gone on, take a step back, everything will be okay. Yeah,
that's a good song to be playing, even at this point in time. And I think they've shown it. I mean, we've obviously, dropped a few early, a lot tough one against Miami, but we were able to show that, hey, we can play with them. We came back, if they didn't go off in the first half and we didn't, play as bad as we did in the first half, then we would have been right there to win. And, obviously we've had some really tough ones, and this Villanova game was a tough one, but we found a way to win. Our 2 previous than that, maybe they shouldn't have been as tough, but they were, and we found a way to win. And so everything's going to be all right. I like that. And I didn't see that in the locker room. I wish I would have saw that. But I think that's a good model to continue to move on to, and a good song to listen to as they, obviously don't have Naquan anymore. So we just got to keep moving forward. Everything's going to be all right. Continue to prepare the way they've been preparing. Continue to, step up and practice every single day the way they've been doing. And hey, we've already been doing it this way. So let's keep moving.
We've touched on a lot of players here, areas for guys to get better, stuff like that. But going up against LSU on Saturday, is there anything that you specifically just want to see an improvement in certain areas and anything like that?
Yeah. I think we just got to take care of the basketball. I still think there's at times we have too many turnovers, and we can't be careless or have live ball turnovers. As far as if we take care of the basketball, we're going to have to make some outside shots. We can't go 3 for 18 like we did 2 games ago. We got to be locked in to make some outside shots. And I'd like to see, I tell you, I love what Day-Day Ames brings. I'd like to see him have a good game going in against LSU, whether, he plays 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25, whatever, coaches feel is kind of best. But man, I'm so impressed with his confidence in himself. He came in, as soon as he came into the game against Villanova, walks in, shoots a 3, makes it, late in the game at 66 to 63 in overtime. And then it's a moment where you say, if we don't score here and they go down and score, that could be a big moment in the game. And we run, he gets the ball on the right side and there's some action run on the left. And he just, all right, I'm driving and taking it, and drives it middle, snatches back between his legs, gets to the rim, gets fouled, and makes his 2 free throws, And so I'm really impressed with what he's been doing. And I'm hoping he continues to step up, because I think he's going to be big for us, especially as teams try to, take Perry out of the game or start denying Perry the ball. We're going to have Day-Day as a second ball handler to bring it up and get us into our offense. And then hopefully he can continue to grow to give us another option.
K-State's overall points per game this season is it's pretty high, but you've also played a lot of overtime games, so maybe that number gets a little inflated, but I'm curious your thoughts on the pace that this team is playing at. Are you satisfied with it, or do you think that maybe things should be slowed down or even sped up more, or does it kind of just depend on a matchup by matchup basis?
Yeah, I think it's matchup by matchup. I think what you see, though, too, is it's a lot easier to score the basketball in non-conference games where teams might not know each other as well or know the coaches as well and kind of what they do, what they run, and systems. And then you get in the Big 12 and it becomes a little bit different. And it's a little bit more, dogfight, and maybe it's a little bit lower scoring games because of, just coaches know coaches, they know systems, and they know everything you run. They have every play call you have, and everything just becomes a little bit tougher. So, I think we're scoring over 80, 81 points per game right now. I expect as we move into the Big 12, that's probably going to drop into the 70s, mid 70s, low 70s, and that's okay. I like the pace. I think we still want to push it as much as we can. We got guys that can get out and run. Our bigs can run. So I think that's really good. And if you can play fast now, it'll become easier to slow it down when we have to in the Big 12 versus like playing slow and then trying to speed up, And so I think that's a good philosophy to take. I believe has as well, is play fast. I can always slow it down when I need to, right? So that's good.
Clint, I don't know what you got planned for Saturday, but give yourself about 3, maybe 3.5 hours for this one. It's not going to be over in 2. I can guarantee you that much. It's going overtime.
I agree. I think that's the way it's been. So I got to prepare for that.
Yep. Right on, man. That'll wrap things up here on the Friday Shoot Around, Clint. I appreciate it as always. We'll be back next week to break down Kansas State and LSU. But other than that, I'm Ryan Gilbert. He's Clint Stewart. We appreciate you guys listening and watching this edition of the Friday Shoot Around.
Thank you for listening to the PowerCat Podcast. Make sure you're subscribing to our show at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Greetings, Fantasy Warriors. I'm Heath Cummings, your guide to fantasy dominance on FFT Dynasty. Join me this offseason where mock drafts become epic showdowns and every pick shapes your legacy.
If I was Adam, with the team that he's built, Will Levis makes so much more sense.
And that's not all. We're peeling back the curtain on the future with our exclusive 2024 NFL Draft Prospect Profiles. Uncover hidden gems that'll elevate your roster to legendary status.
Puka Nacua. After Cooper Kupp, we really have no idea who's going to get the targets.
Keaton Mitchell of East Carolina, explosive speed is ridiculous.
This isn't just a podcast, it's a playbook for champions. Subscribe to FFT Dynasty now, and together, we'll conquer the fantasy football frontier. Your dynasty journey starts here.
The calendar has flipped, which means it's time to join us on Fantasy Baseball Today, part of the CBS Sports Podcast Network. Join Scott White, Chris Towers, and me, Frank Stanfield, 3 times per week in January to kick off our 2024 Fantasy Baseball Prep. We're talking rankings, strategy, tiers, prospects, mock drafts, and everything in between. Make sure to download and follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Odyssey app, and everywhere else podcasts are found.